You're listening to the Soulless Minions of Orthodoxy, alternative DVD commentaries. Our film for tonight is from 2002. It's called The Adventures of Pluto Nash, starring Eddie Murphy, directed by Ron Underwood. Hello, I'm Josh, and with me, as always, in the Soulless Minions studios is my co-host and brother Justin. Say hello.
Hello, Justin.
All right, it's no joke. Our movie really is The Adventures of Pluto Nash. A little bit ago, a few commentaries ago, Justin and I did Superman versus the Elite, which was Justin's idea. Justin wanted to do something that I had not seen before and something that I would normally never watch, correct? And then we would watch it together, and he would gauge my response to see if I would like it or not. So this is my turn at bat. He's going to watch something that I like, and
I basically promised I would never put in my player.
Basically. Well, I think it's fair to say that Pluto Nash is definitely a little off the beaten path in terms of what we normally do, and it compared to Superman versus the Elite anyway. But we'll get into that when we start, because I don't know what Justin's thought of this film. He just watched it yesterday or today, I'm assuming. Earlier today.
I watched it this morning, actually.
Okay, so we watched it earlier today. I don't know what he's thought of it yet, but I've seen this movie a bunch of times, and I like it. Although everyone knows, I'm not sure everyone, but most know it has a bad reputation. But we'll get into that.
Well, it's right up there as far as I guess the promise of being a bad movie. You know, it's got a reputation not unlike
Battlefield
Ishtar,
Earth,
or
Battlefield Earth.
Or Battlefield Earth, yeah.
It
as being a financial and critical flop.
That's very true. So if you're going to watch the movie with us, if you even own this DVD, which I doubt, but if you do, our sync point is actually pretty far in. It's about 43 seconds. There's 3 logos you have to go through. Warner Brothers, Castle Rock, and then Village Roadshow Pictures. Once the Village Roadshow Pictures logo fades to black, pause your DVD. I'll give you a countdown, and when you hear me say unpause, we'll all unpause together and watch the movie in sync. All right, so get your finger on your remote. Here comes the countdown. 3, 2, 1, unpause. All right, in association with Village Roadshow Pictures and Something Entertainment. I missed the credit. A Ron Underwood film. All right, Justin. What did you think of The Adventures of Pluto Nash?
I liked it.
Oh my God, you're shitting me. No, you didn't. No, you did not.
I liked it.
No, you did not. You're lying.
I really did.
You're lying.
It ain't Gone with the Wind, but I enjoyed it. I would watch it again, and I don't know if it's on Blu-ray, but if it hits Blu-ray, I would not be ashamed.
Holy shit, you're shitting me. There's no way you would buy this on Blu-ray.
Look, I gotta tell you, I thought Randy Quaid was hilarious.
Hilarious. I know. He's funny.
He was funny. I'll tell you this, actually, right off the bat. After I watched the movie, I turned around and clicked the special features to see what was in there. John Cleese was hilarious. Mm-hmm. And one thing that caught, I mean, there's not much as far as special features on the DVD anyway. I didn't watch any of the deleted scenes, but I did watch the trailer. And I'm really glad I didn't watch that trailer before I put the movie on, because I really didn't know anything about the movie other than that it was, had a reputation of being very bad. So I'm actually glad I didn't turn the trailer on to see what the movie was about, because the trailer spoils the damn movie. And it tells you the big reveal at the end of the movie, which is ridiculous. I don't know why on earth they did that.
I don't remember the trailer. It reveals the big twist at the end, really?
Yes, it does. Big as day. And
why would they do that?
I'll bet Ron Underwood, the director, was extremely unhappy with that. I'm sure he did not cut that trailer. But anyway, yeah, I liked it.
I'm actually very, very, very surprised.
It's hard for me to laugh out loud when I'm watching a comedic movie by myself. A comedy is generally more fun with other people, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I wouldn't call this a laugh out loud film.
No, but even the parts that were, I mean, I was definitely smiling, but the parts that I think I would have laughed out loud at were I, with a crowd, I just chuckled, but that's not because I just thought it was chuckle worthy. I mean, I do think elements of it were quite funny, and just bottom line, it was an enjoyable movie. I really don't even know how to classify this movie. I wouldn't call it a comedy. I wouldn't call it a sci-fi movie. I wouldn't call it an action movie. It's all of those things, really, but it's not one of them exclusively.
I was having the same thoughts myself when I was trying to classify it, because it's not over the top funny, but it's not over the top,
and it's not wall to wall action.
It's not. So it is really hard to classify it.
I was actually thinking about this. It's actually not too dissimilar to The Fifth Element, only I would say that this movie leans towards the comedy more so than the action, whereas Fifth Element leans more towards action. Fifth Element is like 70% action, 70% comedy, because there's a lot of comedy in Fifth Element. I would say this is more 70-30 with the the comedy lean. But it's like you said, it's not laugh out loud comedy. Don't go in there expecting the Nutty Professor. It's a different kind of comedy, but it is funny.
Yeah, I was thinking about who they were trying to market this for. What age demographic, and I was having a hard time because, Eddie. This is like in Eddie Murphy's kind of third wind of his career, I guess. He's well after Nutty Professor, but he's been doing these kind of family movies. Like Meet Dave and 1,000 Words. Movies
Haunted
like
Mansion.
The Haunted Mansion, exactly. He's doing a lot of family films. Mm-hmm. This movie, I wouldn't say is a family movie, because right here in this scene, where we have these two gangsters who just came on,
this is not a family movie.
No, but...
Which is not to say it's a, rated R adult movie either.
No, but it's like, okay, so I was guessing it was geared maybe towards, young boys, probably 12 to, 16 or something like that. That's probably where it was trying to be marketed. So, but as we said, it had all these different elements. It's like, well, how do you really classify it? Mm-hmm. I don't know. But I'm just completely shocked. I expected you to either A, hate it, or B, just not give a shit about it at all and say, okay, well, I did watch it, so there you go.
No, it's... it's fun. Now, going into this scene, opening the movie, I had absolutely no idea what the hell this movie was. This is, this is not The Godfather, but, it's relatively serious.
I thought, yeah, and that's, I never did like this opening scene, but it is, it's important. It sets up the whole movie, but, it's a bit, I'd say violent, I guess, for this kind of story. I mean, they're threatening to pour battery acid down his throat. It's a bit extreme. Not too much, but a little bit.
Actually, I think it probably helped to draw me into the movie, because even though the scene before, with Jay Moore here, was definitely played for comedy, although not broad comedy, that, this scene, there is some tension, there is some threat. You do believe that these guys, especially Paulie here, you believe that Paulie is going to hurt this guy. And
Anthony
so there is some
Frankowski.
threat, even though you had that sort of light comedy before. But I think this scene and the scene, preceding it with Eddie Murphy and Jay Moore just by themselves, I think that pretty much sets the tone of the movie. Some comedy, some, tension or action or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. It does. I will say this movie does ride its tone, really close to the line. I don't think they entirely knew what this movie was, whether it was more of a broad comedy or action movie with comedy in it, like the later Lethal Weapon movies, for example. In fact, if anything, I would say it's tone-wise very similar to, something like, say, Lethal Weapon 4, which has a lot more comedy in it than, the first two installments. But where the reality of the action gets a little too broad to be threatening. You know, I mean, Eddie Murphy's not going to get killed. You pretty much know that Jay Moore's not going to get killed, or Rosario Dawson. So, you know, there's threat, but you know everyone's going to survive. So it's enjoyable. You just kind of have fun with it.
I wholeheartedly agree. I'm at a complete loss of words right now. I just didn't expect this kind of reception.
You know, Eddie Murphy is interesting because just my personal, you know, like or dislike of Eddie Murphy is on a film by film basis. Sometimes I like Eddie Murphy. Sometimes I can't stand Eddie Murphy. I do think he is a very talented guy. There's no question about that. Sometimes I think he phones it in, and sometimes I think he really tries. This movie, I think, probably kind of falls somewhere in the middle. Thankfully, they were not asking him to do, you know, Eddie Murphy. You know, they weren't asking him to go broad, because I don't like Eddie Murphy broad, or at least mostly.
Well, like in The Nutty Professor.
Well, The Nutty Professor, when he was the professor, he was very good. What I didn't like was all the extended Eddie Murphy characters. Yeah, I didn't like. That's broad Eddie Murphy. Yeah, I don't like that. You know, he is talented, but when they let him go unchecked, that's just not a movie I want to see. I'm not saying it's not good. It's just not my humor. I like this dancing stuff.
You do? Because it's
stuck out. It's interesting. Well, you know, at least they tried to be different.
Well, the dancing is just, I don't know, in the future, the dancing always seems to get whiter.
Well, whatever. It's harmless, you know. You know, I don't know. So Eddie Murphy, I think he's very likable in this.
Oh, he's very charismatic.
He's very charismatic. Yeah. I don't really believe him as an action guy, you know.
No.
Fortunately, really. They don't go overboard with what he does action-wise, but I don't really buy him, which is good because they don't do all that much. But they do ask you to believe in some physical ability on his part. And I don't think they go too far. It's just it's probably just because he's Eddie Murphy, you know, so it's kind of hard for me.
Well, they play him up as kind of a Han Solo type because he was a former smuggler. He's trying to come clean.
Very much so. You know, he's I wish there was another
scoundrel.
Scoundrel.
Yeah,
he's a scoundrel with a heart of gold. You know. Just like he can't let Rosario Dawson's character leave as soon as he realizes she really is kind of in trouble.
Yeah, she really needs help. Yeah, I mean, the way he was set up in the beginning.
You know, he very quickly offers to pay off Jay Moore's debt of, you know,
well, yeah,
$2 million plus.
$2.5 million, yeah.
That's insane.
Well, you know, he's his friend. He doesn't want to see him killed. But,
well, of course not, but still.
Well, that immediately sets him up on the good side because we're introduced to Eddie Murphy as a scoundrel-looking character in the leather jacket, but he comes in, he saves somebody's life, and as a result, you know, we become sympathetic to him. We're like, okay, I can like this guy because he just put his life on the line for somebody else, someone who is not a good singer or an accordion player at all. But Rosario Dawson just came on the screen. How do you think she did in the movie?
Oh, she was perfectly. I mean, I enjoy Rosario Dawson. She's gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
She doesn't have a whole lot to do in this.
Unfortunately, no. She kind of just follows.
She really does. She really doesn't. I guess there's no real way to word this that won't sound bad, but I don't mean it to sound bad. Which is really the only thing that makes her character interesting is Rosario Dawson. There's not much to her as a character, but you can see the Rosario Dawson shining through. And I say that because it's the same elements that make her likable, and like Josie and the Pussycats. It's the exact same stuff. She's got this bubbly nature to her, this spunky go-getter, but adorable quality to her. It's exactly the same character she played as Val in Josie and the Pussycats. I would imagine some of that is the real Rosario Dawson, and that's what makes this character fun because there's not a whole ton of character to her.
No, there's not. I wish
in dialogue or presentation.
No, unfortunately, no.
Other than what she brings to it as a person.
I wish there would have been a little more chemistry between the two of them.
Yeah, okay, that's very good. There's not a whole lot, but
it's fair. I mean, I thought that she had more chemistry with, say, Dante in Clerks 2 than she does with Eddie Murphy.
no, I don't think she had any chemistry with Dante.
You don't think so?
None. It was so forced. Just none.
Oh, well, I disagree. I didn't think it was strong. But
Now, okay, what do you think about Joe Pants here and this other guy?
Joey Pants, they're fine.
10 million's more than
I don't really, as villains, you want to hate them, but
Well, they're very two-dimensional.
well, yeah, but the way they get taken out at the end makes me feel sorry for them.
Well, this guy.
I don't. The amount of times I've seen this movie, I never understood why they do this thing with his eyes.
I don't either, but it's. I like that. At first you think, well, is Eddie Murphy going to be a pushover? But no. He doesn't take any shit. I like that.
Randy Quaid.
And Bruno.
I think Randy Quaid really steals every scene he's in.
He really does.
And I think,
Yes, boss. Yes.
And I think because this movie got pigeonholed into being pure shit, I think people looked over his performance. I mean, it's not Oscar material, but I think he did a great job playing an android.
Yeah, he did. He did a great job. I didn't know he was in it.
Yeah, you really did know nothing about this, didn't you?
No, I didn't. Now, Crazy Eyes here. At first, when I first saw him, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be repulsed by this guy all movie. But he kind of grows on you because he's kind of retarded. And,
I think that's what the eyes are supposed to represent.
I don't just mean the eyes. I mean, he's just kind of dumb. And that makes him funny.
Well,
now, Joe Pants is Joe Pants.
Joey Pants is he's no genius in this movie either.
Maybe not, but you do believe he's a threat, because he's Joe Pants. I mean, he's kind of scary. But
I don't know what that was.
I don't know either, but it does add some flavor to the movie. It does make what would probably be an otherwise forgettable villain somewhat interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give
were
it
you
that.
as the movie was unfolding in front of you, were you caught off guard? Were you expecting something really, really bad, like Battlefield Earth? Where it's so cheesy, it's so bad it's good kind of a thing.
Battlefield Earth is, I think, a bad example. Battlefield Earth is not all really, really bad. It's just they didn't have the skill, it seems, or the money to do what they were trying to do.
There's certain movies that I appreciate.
They're so bad they're good.
Well, I appreciate Battlefield Earth because I see the intent behind it, which is they had really good intentions.
Yeah.
And I can see that through all the actors, even Travolta's over-the-top hammy performance. But he's given it his all. Mm-hmm. And the director, when I listened to his commentary, really believed in what he was doing. There was no sense of, we're doing this for the money. This is a studio picture like Transformers or something or other, or Pirates of the Caribbean. They were really trying to make a good movie, and they believed in it. But it is kind of hammy, at least. This, when I first saw this, I went into it with no expectations whatsoever. I think I went to go see it off the poster alone, and I saw it in the theater. I was one of those people because there weren't many who went to go see this, and I thought it was fun. Had no problem with it whatsoever. And I bought it on DVD as soon as it came out because I thought it was a fun space movie, and I like space movies. And why this movie was delayed for 2 years? Did you know that, Justin?
No.
It was put on the shelf for 2 years. It was actually filmed in 2000 and came out in 2002. So I think that's why. I think this is around the time she did Josie and the Pussycats. So
yeah, Josie came out in, I don't know, 2001, 2.
She may have done this slightly before Josie.
I would guess she probably did it just after Josie.
So maybe that's why you're getting that kind of flavor from her.
Maybe so.
Yeah, but I guess they didn't like it. They had post-production problems, writing problems, and they put it on the shelf. And they released it in over 2,000 screens in 2002, but very little marketing. So at that point, they just wanted to get rid of it. And it made about $4 million stateside, about $7 million worldwide, and it had a production budget of about $100 million.
Wow.
So it was a financial disaster.
Jeez.
And it became the number one financial disaster at the time. I don't know if it still holds that crown, but it did surpass Cutthroat Island at that point, which I do own as well, which isn't not a bad movie at all, but that's another story. Yeah, I'd very much like to see a Blu-ray.
Bomb detonated. Evacuate.
I think it's on Blu-ray overseas. I don't know.
What? Pluto?
Yeah.
I would like to have it because, I'm watching a single layer rip of the movie, which is not the best quality in the world.
Well, I was just...
No, I know.
Yeah. You mentioned the special features, and that reminded me of there are some deleted scenes.
Yeah, I didn't watch them.
Well, I like this bit right here with Randy Quaid. This is a nice running gag they have that goes on that he's an outdated model, and he's constantly being put to the test and failing because he's an old model. It's like, I can only listen in, I can't hear at the same time, so I don't know what he's actually saying.
Oh, I wouldn't say he fails. I mean,
I don't mean fails, but well, this bit right here too. This is funny when he runs. It's like, I'm a 63. I'm at top speed.
Yeah.
This is as fast as I can go. Yeah, there's some deleted scenes, and they actually have Charles Martin Smith.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a tiny little subplot. I can't remember what exactly it was about. He was working for Joey Pants and Crazy Eyes. He was doing something for them, and he failed, and they ended up having to dispose of him. It wasn't really essential to the plot, and I guess it kind of ate up time, so I can see why they did away with it. See, and one of the things about this movie that I kind of wish, I don't know, they hadn't done was it kind of becomes like a chase movie, pretty much. It'll just go from one set piece to another, but in between there's chases. And I wish the movie was a little bit more grounded. It starts you off, you're like, okay, he's a smuggler turned bar owner. You're like, okay, I can get into this. And then it just kind of, his club gets blown up, and then he's just chased from one set piece to another. And I don't mind that, but I kind of wish they would have done something else.
I think one of the things that unconsciously didn't feel right in the first 2 or 3 scenes. This guy.
Crazy
the first 2 or 3 scenes of the movie is, he's referred to and talked about being a former smuggler out of prison and so on. But there's no, other than that, we're seeing Han Solo from Jedi forward. I think I needed to see, I don't think the movie necessarily hurts for it, but I think the movie might have been a little better, or at least his character might have come off as a little more interesting if we had seen a little bit of his smuggler past. Because actually,
to see him with a bit of an arc.
Yeah, because we don't get any arc because he's already
good. Yeah.
What's the word? Reformed,
retired
by the beginning of this. So we don't have any idea what he was like before.
Well, yeah, we catch him in the inner rim because the opening opens up 7 years before this all takes place.
Yeah, but he's reformed then. He's still a good guy at that point. And I think it would have been especially interesting to see that given the reveal at the end. Because we see what happens to a completely unchecked version of this character. Because he is the same guy, just with different experiences. And
it's kind of like what happened in Star Trek Nemesis.
It's Nemesis. It's Second Chances from TNG. It's the same thing. It's the same guy, just
living a different life.
A couple of years of different experiences that changed him. So we know that from the revealed character at the end, we know that. What the hell is Eddie Murphy's character's name here?
Pluto Nash. The name of the movie. Tim
That's such a weird name. You don't just put it on.
I'm glad. Okay.
But in either case, we see what Pluto is capable of. There is a dark character in him. We know that from the reveal at the end. But this guy, this Pluto, I don't see any of that. And I would have liked to have seen something, 10 years back, 15 years back, whatever. Something that showed, how dark this guy could be, so you understand the transition he's made.
So the end would have more impact. Yeah, that's a great point. I wish I would have thought of that.
And when he has the scene with Paulie, at the beginning when he saves Jay Moore, I want to know that he's physically capable of stopping those guys, or maybe not. I don't know.
That he's more than just a suave talker.
Well, yeah, but something, but something to give me some reference to why he shows absolutely no fear in the face of these guys, because they are threatening. Just a thought.
Well, I think it was just to demonstrate that he's more of a smooth talker. He's,
Oh, and the scene works fine in that. I just would have liked some prior reference to what he was like.
Well, he's more of a Picard than a Kirkman. He will talk rather than go to fisticuffs.
And that's fine. Then give me a scene with him being a badass and talking his way out of something. Something to show me he's dealt with this sort of situation before.
I went back Earth once.
Yeah,
and the fact that bottom line he kills a version of himself, kills at the end of this movie. So he is capable, of violence.
Well, I think he's capable of defending himself. I wouldn't say violence is a bit.
No, I'm talking about Bad Pluto.
Oh, Bad Pluto. Okay.
He kills in cold blood.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you mentioned his name, because I like his name. I don't care much for the Nash part, but Pluto.
Nash.
Pluto. Everyone loves Pluto. The former 9th planet. Now not a planet anymore. The dog with the ears that drives a taxi, I guess. Or is he a dog? I can't remember. But everybody loves that name, so it's a great name. But I guess I never thought too deeply about his character, about where he came from. I never thought too deeply about this film at all. I just always kind of just accepted it at face value. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it's a popcorn movie.
Yeah, but okay, think about Beverly Hills Cop.
Right.
Like it or not, you do see Axel Foley go through a transition of being he starts and ends with very little respect for rules and authority, but
of course.
But
I don't think he ever has that.
What changes in Foley is his sense of responsibility, and Pluto virtually does not change from start to finish here. We get a little bit of Axel Foley before he gets put on the task of the movie. So we know that he develops that sense of responsibility, and it wasn't much. You didn't need much, but I guess I'm repeating myself, but I just would have liked some sort of reference to who he was.
Maybe that was in the original story design. I mean, I don't know, because I don't know if you know this or not. I mean, this story was actually, it originated in the mid 80s.
Take this relationship he has with Peter Boyle here. Mm-hmm. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But the thing is Murphy was a criminal. This guy was obviously a cop. So how did they get to be how did they get to be pals? We could have had one or two scenes that took place 10 years before the beginning of this plot part, and that could have brought in Peter Boyle's character. That could have ended with him getting thrown in the slammer with the guy who he refers to in the beginning of the movie. Just to tie up all these things, so at least you understand why he would be friends with a cop, why a cop would be friends with him. He's a notorious criminal, so on and so forth.
Would have been nice. Kind of reminds me of Confidence. They do establish the relationship between Andy Garcia.
I wouldn't have been opposed to seeing it in flashbacks. That might have been fun.
Well, yeah, that was essentially a flashback.
And I know. That's what made me think of it, as opposed to having it linear. In this movie, do it in flashbacks. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, it's Peter Boyle. I mean, we get a lot of cameo appearances. Mm-hmm. Ileana Douglas, she's going to come in later.
Now the scene, with I guess we'll save it till we're there. But
okay. Well, I mean, Pam Grier's in this. John Cleese is in this. We're gonna have a small cameo from Alec Baldwin.
Yeah. The red herring.
The red herring. Yeah. Surprisingly, this movie had some big. It's a big name.
Well, is it Jay Underwood or Ron Underwood?
It's Ron Underwood.
Yeah, he's
a credible director, or at least
he's a respectable, credible. That's a good word, credible. He's a credible director.
Well, he was until this film ruined his career.
Well, that's a real shame, because he He does know what he's doing.
He's a good. He just. I just watched one of his movies the other day. City Slickers.
Yeah,
Still holds up, but
quite a shame.
I don't believe he's done a movie since Pluto Nash, which is very unfortunate. Because, as I said, this movie was a severe financial loss and critical failure. Well, I don't know how it is on Rotten Tomatoes, but on IMDb it has a rating of 3.6.
That doesn't deserve that.
No, not at all.
Okay, now this scene coming is obviously played entirely for laughs.
How romantic.
It didn't even really need to happen, in the plot.
It's completely. It's funny, but
it's a standalone scene meant to make you laugh.
Well, it's essential in unraveling the plot, at least finding Ileana Douglas. But it's the whole body morphing thing is just it's for laughs.
Oh yeah. And it's funny. I don't think it's over the top. It was just funny enough.
I think it's a little over the top. I think Eddie Murphy is. I think they're letting him go a little too.
He does.
Script.
He goes a little just.
He's doing his trademark smile.
But he reined it in. He didn't do that.
Well, he's going to later, but I think he's going a little off page. He's like, I want her to have like a nice bubbly butt and stuff. I'm like, I don't think that was on the page. That sounds like Eddie Murphy.
Maybe so. Okay, so he goes, I think 10% over what he should have, but all in all, the scene does work, and I was smiling through it. I did think it was fun.
Well, I mean, this I think goes on a little too long. I think they tried too many different body types.
It might go on a little long.
Where would we buy clothes?
A little too much, but I thought it was funny enough.
Yeah. It didn't. At no point did I see the scene and roll my eyes, go just, oh my god.
See, that's what I honestly, because of this movie's reputation and its financial loss, critical reviews, I expected you to be rolling your eyes throughout the whole thing.
No.
To be completely honest, I expected you to be just like, oh my god, when does this movie end? Because nobody ever says anything good about this movie. So I'm so glad that we're able to give it some kind of love. I mean, it's no, Lawrence of Arabia or anything like that. But, see this, I'm like, he's going a little too off the cuff here, I think.
Yeah.
Like I need some booty to grab onto or something like that.
Yeah, like that.
You really think that she didn't have any chemistry with Dante? Really? None?
I at no point believed that she would give herself to Dante. No.
Because she's too good looking?
Yes.
Well,
frankly, yes. She's Rosario friggin' Dawson. I no more believe her getting with Dante than I would believe she'd get with me. It just ain't gonna happen. This is the real world.
Well, I think you'd have more luck than Dante, but I think
I feel like a Dante. And
hideous fucking chud. Isn't that what he refers to himself as? I wouldn't call you hideous fucking chud. I'm the hideous fucking chud.
Oh, Jesus.
But I thought that their chemistry, physically, I mean, I don't think she would go out with a guy like Dante, but I think they had some kind of subtext.
There was a little playfulness to them, but I didn't believe them as a romantic match.
Well, but these two, I don't know. I think that.
I know I just watched this today, so this is really bad, but does the movie really end putting them together?
I want the truth.
Not necessarily.
I don't remember them really, really being put together.
Well, because this movie.
I mean, sure, he's attracted to her. How could you not be?
Oh, of course.
But I didn't come away with any sense that they were being forced together.
No, not
romantically.
There's some flirtations with that possibility, and
but it doesn't beat you over the head.
No, but they do stay together. She ends up singing in the club.
Yeah, and they maybe like each other, but still, I don't think it went too far, and thank goodness, because the movie didn't need it, and it wouldn't have worked.
Well, I just think that Eddie Murphy needs someone a little less comedic herself. I mean, because Rosario is, when you watch her in Josie and the Pussycat, she's she's good on her own. She's good with laughs, and I think that she was just too much for him. I don't know. Maybe he needed somebody a little more straight to play off of. I'm not sure.
It's part of the scam.
And there was also, now that Pam Grier's on, there was also some cutscenes with, what was the actor's name? Peter Boyle. Mm-hmm. She and Peter Boyle have a relationship.
Oh.
And that was cut as well, which I thought was...
Oh, which would explain why she was so upset.
Exactly, yeah.
When she calls.
Yeah, I always thought that was a little odd that she was in tears, but I was like, okay. But yeah, they were involved, which I thought was kind of cute.
Now, what do you think about the look of the movie itself?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Because people criticize this movie for costing so much, and like, where's the money on screen?
Oh, I think it's on screen.
I thought so too. I think that the movie is deliberately giving us a used future.
It's I know I already referenced this, but it's not unlike The Fifth Element
or Blade Runner.
Yeah, both of them have a very similar look and feel to them. I mean, look at this. They built everything. These are real practical sets.
Exactly. It's a set.
It's not cheap to do.
It's a set, and it's supposed to look like this.
And they have a lot of locations they go to.
Yeah. I mean, it's people will say, "Oh, look how bad these sets look." I'm like, "Well, it's really supposed to look like this because
it's supposed to look like that, but unfortunately, somewhere in the lighting, it looks like a set.
It does look a little set-like because of the lighting. You're right. But
yeah, it's lit like a comedy.
You're right. It is, unfortunately. I mean, if it was a bit darker and edgier, sure.
But
it is very brightly lit. You're right.
Fifth Element, a lot of it, most of it was shot on a set, but it doesn't feel like a set. This feels like a set, unfortunately. And that aesthetically almost never works for me.
But I think it's supposed to feel a little fake because this takes place in an environment that is fake. I mean, they're living in a dome on the moon, so it's...
I'll give you that.
It's supposed to look a little set-like.
But when you spend $100 million on a movie, you don't want it to look cheap. And when you light things this way, it tends to make it look cheap. It's a lighting, film stock. It's a combination of things.
No, I think you're right. I think overall the lighting is a bit bright. I think it's something that comedies, do.
It's not just the lighting though. There's something.
With the color scheme,
film stock. Color
Okay.
scheme isn't too bad.
Yeah, it could be right. It could be the film stock.
Like I said, this stuff does not look unlike Fifth Element or even Total Recall. Although Total Recall looked like it was on a set.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, Venusville, the last resort.
But Venusville, I mean, it's an enclosed environment, so it kind of gets away with looking like that. This is too, I realize, but it feels different,
I suppose, yeah. Yeah, I was looking up Ron Underwood's credits, and after Pluto Nash, he was pretty much relegated to doing TV work, which he's been doing for the past decade or so, which is kind of sad. This is a movie I'd love to hear a commentary on from the director, just a really candid one to hear, like, okay, where did things go wrong, and
that implies that things went wrong. I think this movie is exactly what it was intended to be. I just don't think people responded for some reason.
Yeah, I never heard any, stories on set of, difficulties or anything like that. I mean, from the amount of cutscenes, which is, that they included on the DVD, there's very little, so I assume that they pretty much stuck to the script for the most part.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I don't see this cast as being particularly problematic. I mean, Joe Pants is a professional actor. So is Peter Boyle. Rosario Dawson was so early in her career, I doubt she was giving anyone any shit.
She was probably just excited to be working.
Hell yeah. And Eddie Murphy, I mean, I'm totally guessing here, but I'm guessing Eddie Murphy was probably kind of happy to be playing against his normal type.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's probably enjoying it.
Why don't we just
He gets to play kind of slick and suave, not Axel Foley and not over the top Eddie Murphy. He probably liked it.
Well, you got to admit, I mean, this movie was probably a tough sell. A smuggler on the moon with a nightclub, and I mean, it does have an unconventional kind of approach to a standard Eddie Murphy movie. when you think about it.
You know, I don't know if he was miscast, but just as a performer, the problem is he brings Eddie Murphy baggage.
Very true.
You know, keep waiting for him to do what he ultimately really doesn't, but you keep waiting for it, and in a way that almost gets in the way of watching it.
You know,
at least the first time.
Well, I was thinking about Eddie Murphy being cast. Oh, John Cleese. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about Eddie Murphy being cast in the movie, and I thought, you know, what if, this movie was played more serious, and it was not a comedian in the role. I say that's not fair. I mean, Eddie Murphy isn't just a comedian; he's an actor. He's done dramatic stuff. But say it wasn't a guy.
Name me one.
What, a comedian?
No, name me one of his serious things.
Dreamgirls.
I haven't seen it.
Well, it's off the top of my head, but I haven't seen it either. But if they try to play this as a more serious film and got a more serious actor, say they played this as a dramatic film, what would it really be like?
I think it would be a very different movie.
Oh, exactly.
I think it probably would have been more successful.
I think you're right. But I love this stuff. I geek out over this stuff. This architecture of the moon, the freeway of the moon. You can see they leave the domes behind, and they go into the vacuum. But the freeways are in a vacuum.
Yeah.
I don't know. I geek out over this garbage.
No, it's cool.
I like it. It's fun. We did a Listcast episode about interesting futures, and I didn't include this one, but this is fun to look at.
It is. You don't see it all the time.
No, I mean it's a conventional highway, but in space. I don't know. I find that stuff fascinating.
It is.
See, right here, this is where they kind of start to flirt with the romance between.
Yeah,
the two
but then it kind of doesn't go anywhere.
It's kind of kept in in their back pocket. It's there. It's a convention of storytelling.
Yeah.
You want the two main characters to get together. It's just, thankfully they didn't. You're right. They didn't go over the top with it.
Yeah.
But
which is probably one of the saving graces of the movie. If they did, I probably would have liked it less.
Look up at the stars.
Yeah.
Partially because I don't believe them together as a couple.
No.
I just don't.
Well,
he's likable and she's likable. That doesn't mean they have to be together.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that they have a more brother-sister relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, that works.
For some reason, the Doctor Who comes to mind, and the Doctor always has a female companion. I don't mean in a relationship sense, his travel mate. And they're referred to as companions, but it's always a woman, and the woman in fact, every one of them that I can think of, basically had a crush on the Doctor, and how could you not? He's smart, witty, funny, blah blah blah. But there was one who was not impressed, and she did not have a crush on him. I mean, she liked him, she traveled with him and everything, but she didn't have the goo eyes for him that everyone else did, and that was kind of refreshing. She was annoying as hell, but it was refreshing to have that. And I don't know, I guess I would like to see that more in movies where they have the two leads, male and female. They like each other and all that, but it doesn't mean they're romantically interested. In fact, it might have been more interesting if she was like, I like you, man, but, what's the big deal about you? Who cares? You were a smuggler. Why is everyone fawning over you? Big deal.
Yeah, she stood up to him and didn't take any of his bullshit.
Yeah, or saw right through it. Just like the companion I'm talking about. She saw right through the Doctor's normal fluff,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just blabbing. But I do think they do a decent job with the is it the plot or subplot of who MVM is.
MZM.
Mm-hmm. They cut away here and there, go to Joe Pants and all that stuff, and I think they did a good job balancing it. I definitely was trying to figure out who he was. Now eventually they get to the Alec Baldwin red herring bit, and I kind of just figured that was it. I was sure Alec Baldwin was going to turn around in that chair. I really was.
Yeah,
or, I thought either they were going to pay off the Alec Baldwin thing, or I thought it was going to be like Jay Moore's character or something, some sort of twist. And it was a twist. I just didn't see that twist coming.
Yeah, I didn't expect to see the clone of Eddie Murphy in there. No, I didn't. I mean, as I said, I wasn't thinking too deeply when I first watched
I
this.
wasn't either.
So I was like, oh, okay, that's a surprise. I mean, it's not a new twist. Not at all. It's been done plenty of times before, but I definitely didn't see it coming. Mm-mm. As you were talking about Doctor Who, and him having a companion, I was thinking, maybe, they're not romantically really involved in this film, but maybe she's more of like the female Anthony Franceschi, he took Anthony under his wing to protect him because he does have a heart of gold, and like she comes in with a problem. She's like, okay, my moon card's expired. I'm a singer. I need to get back to Earth, but I don't have any money. Mm-hmm. So he does her a favor. So he's kind of looking after her the way he looked after Anthony Franceschi. Well, this is a good bit. It's the only program she has left in her.
Oh.
I thought it was aesthetically kind of funny the way these robots look. All the male androids are bald, and all the female androids have obvious fake hair.
Oh, that's
I
just
don't know. I thought that was a good bit.
Yeah, it was all right.
Left it on. Oops. Forgot that was in there. Babette, du café, s'il vous plaît.
Du café.
Yes, oui, du café.
Who knows? Maybe this movie will become less reviled in the future. Maybe people will give it midnight showings and whatnot.
I think it has a chance. It's enjoyable.
Excellent piece of multifunctional software.
I'm just, I still can't get over the fact that people,
Initiate search.
really consider it to be just horrible. It's not like The Room. Or
It's
anything
not
like that.
horrible.
No.
It's not horrible. I don't I don't dislike Eddie Murphy in this movie, but if I'm going to be fair,
It's not going at all.
he's miscast because
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, when you look at the poster,
I hate to
it's-
say it because he's really, he's giving a good performance. What he's doing right now in this scene is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But, 60 seconds ago, he did his Eddie Murphy smile and laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And that has such weight and such baggage with it that it takes you out, for a few minutes of a scene like this where he's being essentially normal.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
that the laugh he did before was like outrageous, but I don't know. I hate to knock him because this is a perfectly fine performance of his. It's just he's Eddie Murphy, and I couldn't tell you whether or not those little moments of his laugh were asked for by the studio or by the director, or if he did. Who knows? Someone knows, obviously, but it's not us. Mm-hmm. But if those little Eddie Murphy type moments had been completely removed, his performance would have been viewed very differently. It's not unlike think of Jim Carrey in The Truman Show. He radically toned down his Jim Carrey-ness. You do get moments of it.
You do get some. Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, when he's sitting in the car and he's watching the bike rider drive by. He's doing really good. You're totally wrapped up in that scene until, Laura Linney gets in the car and he does that little, and you're like, oh, there's Ace, know,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes you out for a little bit. And then you're able to settle back in and get back into it. But they let just a little too much of the Jim Carrey baggage come in. Otherwise, his performance, just like Murphy's, is perfectly fine. It's good, in fact. But, unfortunately, it hurts the overall tone because you just...
Well, yeah, whenever that happens, Pluto slips away and Eddie Murphy comes in. You're like,
Exactly,
oh, okay.
exactly. It
There's-
becomes Eddie Murphy and not Pluto. That's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't mind if they kept it a comedy. Yeah, but I think you're right. I think he is a funny guy. I'm not going to argue that. He is funny. He is good at what he does. But I think you're right. He was miscast for this role. I think he did bring too much baggage. Maybe somebody a little less well known, but someone where it wasn't going to be a ... movie, because this becomes an Eddie Murphy movie. It's Eddie Murphy in The Adventures of Pluto Nash. It becomes his movie. He wraps himself around the movie. He doesn't do it intentionally. It's just because of the baggage he brings.
No, that's true.
But if they went with somebody a little less well known, when you go see Moon, it's not a
Sam
Rockwell film. It's a film on the moon with Sam Rockwell in it.
Exactly.
This gets at the Eddie Murphy treatment, and the poster is him smiling wearing a spacesuit.
Exactly, which right there, that tells you the wrong story about the movie, because that's not what the movie is really like. So if you go in there expecting that, this is probably going to be a letdown to you. Because it's not Eddie Murphy doing his normal Eddie Murphy shtick.
Right. I like that. I enjoy that bit. He's jealous. Bruno.
See, here he goes. He's getting a little, doing the happy chip stuff,
What, you don't like that part?
Well, he started being just a little too Eddie Murphy there, just a little.
Well, I like that bit though with Bruno.
I mean, it's funny.
Bruno's jealous that his attention's being stolen away. I rather enjoyed that.
No, it's just for the moment he did the big. He's just big and smiley and all that. Pluto is supposed to be a guy that definitely lived in the darker parts of the world and served in prison and all that. He's awfully chipper for a guy that's lived that life. I think it might have been a little more believable had he not been
so upbeat all the time. Yeah, I think
so
you're right.
Bright.
Because he came from such a dark area. Like if he did show some dark side tendencies here and there, it would have been a more well-rounded character. And I agree. I think having a scene in the beginning of the movie that sets up the life he had previously.
Well, I just think removing even just the little Eddie Murphy moments would have gone a long way to keeping his character in check, in tone with the rest of the movie.
Like a fan edit. I'm just kidding.
Which really wouldn't be that extreme, but just removing some of those little bits.
So now does her crying make more sense?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I would have advocated cutting it out too, because really it serves no purpose but to explain those tears, and really I didn't give it too much thought while watching the movie. I just thought they knew each other.
You're leaving me behind?
Yeah, well, when I was rewatching this, and as I was rewatching it was kind of in the same way that I always did. I don't like this car design, by the way, but all right. Do you?
I guess not.
It kind of looks like it wants to be a bus, but it's just not big enough. But as I was watching, it was the same way I always do.
Hold on.
This is good. Yeah, that was a funny bit.
That was funny,
Well, as I was saying,
bad guys do make mistakes too, and do blunder.
See, this kind of stuff I'm just a sucker for. People in
this
spacesuits.
Stuff was neat. It was kind of neat.
Yes, people in spacesuits and low gravity jumping around.
Yeah,
it was fun to watch.
It was. Now, gosh, I don't even know how to verbalize it. I guess it's just got that comedic. I don't know another word for this, but I think you'll understand what I mean. Visually speaking, it's got that comedic, cheap feel to it,
I know
it's clearly not. It obviously cost a ton of money.
I understand completely.
To do this.
You were trying to describe Time Cop, and you're like, it's greasy. It's greasy. I can't explain it. It does have a comedy feel, kind of cheapy look to it. I fully understand.
Which is odd. It has that comedic comedy movie cheapness and smallness to it. However, it was not cheap, and it's not really small.
No,
it's
not.
Just something to do with the way it's lit, the way it's shot, something. And I can't quite put this scene right here. And obviously, there's a lot of blue screen all back there, and there's something in the way that it's composited that's giving me that effect right now. But this movie cost $100+ million to make. Obviously, they spent their money. There's a ton of sets in this movie.
There's a look of certain films that I can't stand. I don't know if you've ever noticed it. It is with certain like comedies or romantic comedies that are kind of on a low budget side, where they have kind of like this soft focus. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know. It's kind of like a blurry, soft focus or anything. I can't explain it. It's like trying to explain the greasy look in Time Cop. Like, I couldn't quite see it. But a lot of these movies, one that I saw recently, like Spice World, for example, has that soft focus look, and I can't stand it. It makes
You think this has a soft focus look?
No, it doesn't. It's sharp. But it has those type of movies have a look that I can't really explain. It's like you're trying to explain Pluto Nash here. But you can't verbalize it. And the way I verbalize those movies is like it just has a soft, focused, cheap look to it. I can't explain it. And certain films like like Spice World or It Could Happen to You. I noticed that today. It Could Happen to You came on, and it has that soft, focused look to it, and I can't explain it. It just looks soft and cheap.
No, I get it. I get that.
And it must be the kind of camera they use or the film that gets circulated around Hollywood. I don't know, but
it's a combination of both. Just like with this, it's a combination of both.
Yeah, I cannot stand it when they do that. But I never found this movie's visuals offsetting in any way.
I didn't so much find them offsetting. It's just that I'm so keenly aware of lighting and film stock and all of that my attention gets drawn to it because it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I would have appreciated more of a gritty tone, and because their set pieces are more on the gritty side. Like
the set pieces are very well done. You could you would have to change nothing on the set, just light it differently, use different film stock or lenses or whatever, and it would feel completely different.
Yeah, just go with a different DP maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, for all I know, the DP did exactly what he was asked to do.
That's true. Yeah. Well, a while ago, I was trying to mention that while I was rewatching it, I was in kind of the same way I normally do watch it, which is not taking it too seriously, not thinking too deeply about it. But I did think one thing, which was, what if this movie wasn't a comedy but a drama, and say it was cast with a dramatic actor? And I was thinking about, look at Total Recall, the remake, with Colin Farrell. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know both versions of Total Recall were, they're not comedies. But the original Total Recall has Schwarzenegger, but originally it wasn't supposed to be Schwarzenegger.
Who was it going to be?
I think they were flirting with like Jeff Bridges, Richard Dreyfuss, because he wasn't supposed to be a construction worker. In the original story, he's like an accountant.
Oh, all right.
So, they wanted like a bookworm, white collar type of guy. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Schwarzenegger is a number cruncher. No, that doesn't work. But as a construction worker, it works barely, but it works.
Right.
So
well, he's believable as the guy pounding rocks.
Well, well, barely. I mean, when you look at his partner Harry, who's this kind of schlub. It barely. If the other workers next to him had muscles like him, but anyway, I thought that. This movie was cast kind of like Colin Farrell. Say Colin Farrell was playing Pluto Nash, and it was kind of like a more dramatic telling instead of action-oriented like the original Total Recall. What would it have really been like?
I think it would have done a lot better.
Doesn't this scene remind you of Temple of Doom a little bit?
It does now. I was actually thinking of Fifth Element again.
Oh, sure. Well, this flying cars, and this came out around the same time as 5 years or so after the Fifth Element. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, yeah. What were you saying?
As to how the movie would be different. Mm-hmm. Obviously, elements of this movie were tailored for Eddie Murphy, and I think for the most part, the movie. I don't want to say the movie plays as a dramatic movie, but because again, I don't really know what the hell to call this movie. Action, sci-fi, a little bit of drama, I don't know, whatever. But throwing, say, Colin Farrell in there, it would have changed the tone of the movie. I mean, unfortunately, that then in turn changes some of the things that we like. Like, you couldn't put Colin Farrell in there cookie cutter and expect Randy Quaid's character to work exactly the way he does.
Or
things would have to change.
Or Crazy Eyes or Joey Pants. Yeah,
it's kind of tricky. I mean, that's not to say that Colin Farrell can't play, slightly amusing. Colin Farrell, just I don't know why we're using Colin Farrell, but he could have played this part, and let's say they didn't change anything too much. They just stuck him in. Obviously he's not going to have those Eddie Murphy bits. So if they just said, hey, play it light, man, play it loose, because he's Colin Farrell, he's got that, darkness to him. You would go in there already believing.
Well, I think you're
his past.
Well, don't take the Colin Farrell, casting to the extreme. I just brought him up because of
Total Recall.
That's all.
Yeah. God, I'm trying to think of someone, but I mean that's a decent enough example. He's probably a little too intense.
Maybe
for this movie.
Maybe some a little more, in the middle, like, jeez, off the top of my head, I don't know. Brendan Fraser, I don't know. Can he play?
He goes a little too broad, in my opinion.
Well, when you think like George?
Actually, it depends. I mean, like in The Mummy, he's perfectly fine.
But in Bedazzled, he can be,
He's too far in Bedazzled.
Well, but it's funny though. Sometimes.
I don't even want to go into Brendan Fraser, but
What?
I'm trying to think of someone who would have maybe balanced this movie a little bit. I'm really trying to think of someone.
We're both on the spot, so it's difficult.
Well, no, actually, believe it. I mean, they already made that movie, but Bruce Willis does it very well. He balances humor and action very well, but of course they made that movie and called it The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
But he does that very well, where he can jump between comedy and action and be utterly believable in both.
Well, yeah, he does that in all of his films, pretty much.
Yeah.
Hudson Hawk and
yeah. Well, in Hudson, he's way more comedy in that, obviously. But maybe a Hudson Hawk type character would have worked in this. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's really fuzzy. It looks cheap.
This does, I will admit. Well, I mean, there's a lot of CG work going on with the background and whatnot, so I understand that.
But I like what's going on here. And I like how Randy Quaid picks them up and starts walking and then basically runs out of steam himself. It's kind of cool. I liked it.
Well, yeah, it's a good scene. It's something I never expected to happen.
It is. He's the dedicated robot. He's Chewbacca. And he's doing the best he can.
Yeah, he is.
You just love Randy Quaid.
Yeah, and I mean they almost died, so it's this movie, kind of flirts with the macabre, I guess. I don't know, a little bit, but I lost my train of thought.
That's a good shot.
It is. I mean, this movie, I had no idea what it was going to be either. So seeing a scene like this was a real treat. I was like, oh, this is. I mean, the main hero almost dies, so it was a shock to me. And he almost dies too.
Yeah.
They almost barely get out of this predicament they're in. But I think I mentioned Hudson Hawk. I think this movie is like the 2000s versions of Hudson Hawk when you think about it. Hudson Hawk, people didn't know what to make of it. Like, is it a comedy? Is it a drama?
That's true.
People went into it thinking it was going to be like Die Hard or something like that.
Yeah, very good point.
It completely threw them off. People went into this thinking it was going to be just a straight up comedy, but it's really not. And
just like with Hudson, they probably marketed Hudson as more of an action movie,
probably,
but it's completely off the walls, left field comedy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's completely over the top, and
over the top.
I think people just didn't. I think went into that with the wrong idea in their minds, and we're just. I mean, it's the movie has villains in it called Butterfinger and Kit Kat, and I'm like, come on, seriously? Just don't take it too seriously.
No, I know. You just got to enjoy it for what it is, and that's basically what I settled into with this. I just enjoyed it for what it was.
I just rescued you. My name is Felix Laranga.
This is funny.
Louis Guzman is always funny.
He's hilarious.
I mean, Boogie Nights, Punch Drunk Love. Whenever he's on it,
Pluto Nash?
he usually steals the screen. Felix Laranga, that's his name.
Yeah.
Honey, let me tell you something.
See, they keep referring to the famousness of
Pluto
Nash, and I don't get it because they don't give you anything to feed on.
No. just get this. Just you used to be. Oh, you were so great way back when. But
Yeah, but we have no reference whatsoever.
well, I mean, we haven't even heard about his exploits. Even it's just about you used to be. You were so awesome. But why? That's what I'm wondering. It's like what did he do that was so great? You know. Other than we've come to know him, yeah, he seems like a sympathetic, nice guy. Sure, he's had a troubled past, but that's pretty much all we know about him. Like, yeah, I could like this guy, but all these other characters are wanting to reference things that have happened, but there's nothing to go on. I thought that was a nice bit. Like, I had trouble with a robot once. It's like, she was a sex model, and she went kind of Terminator on me. But I like this. He's like, normally for anybody else I'd say no, but for you, Pluto, you got it. Yeah, that's funny. But this is good. His recharger is in his crotch. Which makes me wonder, like, why does he always come on to Babette? He has no parts. So where does I don't know, where does he get the testosterone from?
I wouldn't give it too much thought.
Well, if it's something I did think about.
Hey, check it out. In the Grand Casino.
Well, I mean, what did you think of this whole plot of like the mob and the mafia? Did you really think that kind of works? The mob on the moon kind of a thing?
I don't know.
You're not a gambler. What you doing going to Moon Beach?
I'm going there to see an old friend of mine.
I don't know. I guess the human population on the moon, there certainly seems to be a lot of them, and they're not confined to one area. This little city is different.
Moon Beach.
They're all over the place. So,
well, I don't know how many.
You get gambling, you get money, you get mafia. I guess kind of the two go hand in hand.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just would have liked something. I mean, because I've never been a fan of organized crime.
Yeah, I know.
So, for me, it was a little disappointing. I'm like, all right, I guess that's okay. I just kind of wanted more of a, and it just adventure, but not involving the mob. I'm like, do you have to bring the mob to the moon too? Like, I guess I'll take it. I guess because it's not too deep, but.
Oh, come on, give me an autograph.
Yeah, they don't go too crazy with it.
No. And I can assume there's more than 2 cities on the moon. I mean, the only reference.
It seems like there is.
Well, you think there's only 2 cities? Little America and Moon Beach?
No, I mean, it seems like there's more.
Yeah.
They seem to have a thriving community up there.
I like this. my buddy Felix, who stuck me through thin and thin, who saved my ass, and I'd do anything for him.
Yeah, you did.
It's like, yeah, that's true.
Hey, Felix, what's all that stuff
So
you got on the rack there?
yeah, characters like Luis Guzman, I just wonder, like, how did he get into this? How did this happen? How did they get into this movie?
I don't know.
Yeah, we
I
can use some
mean,
clothes.
Eddie Murphy still has a lot of clout, so I guess more clout than Ron Underwood at the time. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
See, like, why would the studio do this to themselves? Why would they invest so much money into a movie and then release it with no marketing? Why would they do that? It just puzzles me. It's like, they release bad movies, really bad movies, which this movie is not, and those bad movies get marketing. So why would they potentially shoot themselves in the foot?
Well, I don't know, but you referred to the 2-year shelf time for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Well, they honestly thought they had a lemon on their hands.
But
a real catch-22.
I don't know. It just seems weird. Why sit on it for 2 years? I mean, you're going to have to release it. You're going to have to try to recoup your losses. So why not, like you said, why not just market it, try your best, and see what happens? You know?
I never really understood why. I mean, this is the first movie to ever be shelved.
No.
But why studios do that, I really don't know. I mean, it's not like they went back and tried to do reshoots and fix it or something like that, which they do with movies. They get bad test screenings or something like that. I don't remember reading anything about bad test screenings or reshoots. They just shelved it because they thought it was bad. And then by that point, it did gain a reputation because it had leaked out. And like, oh, this must be horrible. So then nobody went to go see it as a result of that. So why do that? Just make it, release it.
Hope for the best.
And hope for the best, yeah.
You sick
So-
bastard.
Yeah, yeah.
Security.
You know,
I mean, they did that
the
with...
scene we were just watching with, you know, with this guy, you know, and Eddie Murphy. Look at him. You know, he's
grinning.
going a little overboard here.
Yeah.
I don't know why this popped into my head, but I was thinking of Quark from DS9.
Okay.
Now, Quark is a funny character, right? He's on the show for the most part for comic relief, but Quark is a criminal, and he does do bad things, or at least most of his bad things were in the past. You know, he still, you know, in the present text of the show, he occasionally still did some bad things.
Well, he's a nefarious character, but yeah.
He's so funny. But I don't know why, but I was imagining, what if Quark was in this scene? You know, he wouldn't have played it. He could have been funny without being over the top. You know, you could have enjoyed him kind of playing the part without drawing attention to himself, because Quark was intelligent, you know, and he was always manipulating a situation.
Yeah, but not very often would Quark risk his own livelihood for somebody else.
No,
very rarely would he ever do
but
that.
if he did decide to do it, and once in a while he did, he committed himself to it, you know.
Yeah, but
and
that's
because he never went too broad, you know, so you'd believe it when he did something like that. Now, Murphy's character, I think that part of the problem this movie has is those darn Eddie Murphy moments where you just don't believe him as being this former smuggler or whatever. He's just kind of cool Eddie Murphy, you know, and that's fine, but they're asking you to believe he used to be this guy, and that...
It's funny you mentioned Fifth Element. We're getting a Fifth Element like scene.
A very, very big show. You know, I do you get what I'm saying with the Quark thing?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, Quark, they got it right,
and then
they were able to balance,
and it was also deserved. You know, when he did do
exactly
right.
Those moments were earned,
because we did learn about his character, his past, and whenever he did do good, it was like, and it was never. It was a spin on his character, but it's always completely understood. You know, when he would show sympathy for Odo.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, because you could always sense something between the two of them, that they kind of did like each other, but they would never admit it. But, you know, he would say, you know, oh, you're not such a bad guy. And then turn around and say, and then Quark would, what's his name? Odo would say, you don't really mean that, do you? He's like, of course I don't mean that. What, are you crazy? You know, they would keep that thing going. And, you know, that's how you save the scene. But yeah, I think you're right. It's a good example. I think he's supposed to be a modern, a future version of I forgot his name again. The guy who worked in Las Vegas. Sinatra? And who's the other guy I'm thinking of? This is funny. It's the orchestra. The guy who was in National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation. You know?
Oh, is it Tony Bennett? No,
not Tony Bennett.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the guy with the hair.
He's the guy in License to Kill. It's like, bless your heart.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, I forget his name. He's a staple.
Yeah, but you know, he's a staple of Vegas.
Yeah,
is what I meant. So I think that. He's Tony Francis now. See, we just got a kiss there. See, there's something. They were playing around with it a little bit. I think that Tony Francis was a kind of a cross between Sinatra and Wayne Newton.
Wayne Newton.
There you go. Wayne Newton. I think kind of a cross between the two of them. See, Jay Moore. See, another. I mean, he's not a big star, but
goodness, it's marvelous to
you know, how he ended up in the. I don't know. See, it's not like this movie didn't have things going for it.
I loved your show.
Tony loves you for loving a show. I want you to meet my wives. This is Gina and Philomena.
And you know, it's not like this movie was like Last Action Hero. You know, where
It's Francis.
it had really, really bad test screenings, and
Which is a shame.
because you know they went into that movie. You know, the studio was high on it. You know, because it's Schwarzenegger. It's who directed that?
That was McTiernan.
Yeah, Schwarzenegger, McTiernan. Oh, we can't lose. You know, and they lost big time. But
It was, you know, frankly, that movie was just smarter than most people could handle, I think.
well, I think the movie's funny. I think it does have a problem with tone at times, but I think
I like the tone balance that it delivered, because you're supposed to be frightened of some of these things, and you are watching it. You believe of the threat of the guy with the glass eye and all that stuff.
Yeah, but I think that movie does suffer from, I think, cinematography. You know what I'm talking about?
Really?
It has kind of a grungy kind of look to it.
Well, it does,
that
but
I
it's
never,
supposed to.
But it's kind of this color palette that I never really liked. But that didn't really detract from me from enjoying it. But back to that, it had really bad test screenings. So they tried to retool it and whatever, but they didn't put it on the shelf. You know, they did release it, you know. So it didn't gain too much of a reputation before it was released, just a little bit, because rumors were abound in Hollywood. Oh, they're sitting on a big bad egg, you know.
Right.
But they didn't put it on a shelf and let it, you know, stink up the print room for 2 years and then, you know, release it to little fanfare. So why do that to this movie? It just seems. Why do it to any movie? I don't know.
Right. There you go. Stop this so nobody bothers us, huh?
I think this little bit coming up is kind of funny.
The elevator thing?
Yeah, I'll have to get that later.
But
then he explains his whole little plan here, and he's explaining it like
it's a really good plan.
Not only that, but he's like, it's no big deal. Just do it.
Well, he explains it in detail. It's like, yeah,
but that wire's live. Well, don't grab that one. Grab the other one.
It's like, no, yeah, you swing down to the wire. It's like, you know, swing down to that little ledge, and then you go up in there. You wait for like 5-6 hours, and then you crawl down through the hatch. 2 guards knock him out. Bam, you got a meeting with Rex Crater. He's like, but Eddie Murphy's just looking at him with his face the whole time. He's like, okay.
And you know what makes it funny is that Jay Moore is not laughing at it. He thinks it's a good plan.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's not playing it for laughs. It's funny, but he's not playing it for laughs. That's why it works.
Well, he's playing it straight. Yeah.
And yeah, he's playing it straight. And Murphy, he's trying to. He's like, okay, there's something good in here, right? You know?
It's just waiting for it to. And he's like, okay, when's the plan gonna become good? But right there, he's like. That deadpan face.
I know, you're just waiting.
It's like, okay, what's
he's either going to go with it or he's going to think he's crazy. Yeah, you just don't know.
But I think they played that scene more along the lines of what you were talking about, where they don't let Eddie Murphy go over the top. He played it. He let Jay Moore own the scene. You know, he just played it, you know, deadpan. He's like, okay, and they played that deadpan a little too long just because it was funny. You know, they drug it out.
Of this casino until the damages to our slot machines are taken care of.
Yeah, maybe it's a second or two too long.
No, I think it was just the right amount of time. I thought so.
Well, you would be a real peach if you could get me that bill.
I would love to see a movie where the girl does this
and it doesn't work.
And the guy just goes, "Are you crazy? Look at me. I know you're bullshitting me. Hello." You know?
Sure.
And have her go, "Oh, well, shit."
I haven't even looked at the damn thing yet. Have them check with us
tomorrow
morning.
What are they
saying? They would never have gotten out.
What are they saying?
Well, you'll be spending the night.
A nice little callback to his limitation.
Mm-hmm. Well, they go from one.
The thing about Bruno is he's a little freaky. You know?
Well, he's always got that grin on his face.
You kind of don't know if he's ever going to go off the wall on you. That makes him interesting.
Well, they went from one cliche to the next. You know, they had her using her looks to win over the guard, and then like Bruno using the "I've got to go pee" moves, and he's like, "Wait a minute, huh? Androids don't pee." Yeah. Where is this guy from?
This guy? Oh, he's a character actor.
Well, I know he's a character. Well, I know he's a character actor, but I can't remember what I know him from specifically.
See this? They show this in the trailer.
Oh, they do.
They show him spin around in the chair, and then they show Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy together.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I mean, no idea.
Big as day, and they even had like Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy, and you're like, what?
Well, that completely
now,
throws.
If you don't know the plot of the movie, that doesn't mean anything. But as soon as you start watching the movie and the mystery of who this guy is, you're like, well, I know it's Eddie Murphy.
So you got it all figured out, huh?
Yeah. So this is the Pluto Nash version of Shinzon.
Mm-hmm. See, he's going a little overboard there.
Well, yeah, he's got to play to the extreme to contrast.
Yeah, but he can be extreme without being comedically extreme.
Yeah, it would have been nice if he was just dark.
Just dark, man. He I don't need it. Turn it off. Yeah. I'd rather him be completely sadistic and mean. It makes Eddie Murphy's look here, which is like, he's like, holy shit, what's going on? And he's playing that part great. Being totally bewildered.
Cut your appendix out 8 years ago in prison. Yeah. Gambling had just been outlawed.
Of course, it is a massive coincidence or convenience that
they're wearing the same suit.
It happened to be Eddie Murphy.
Oh, that they're wearing the exact same suit?
Well, no, not just they're wearing the same suit, but this whole thing that this guy is describing, that MZM needed a puppet, and it just happened to be the character we've been following the entire movie.
Well, I don't think that's a coincidence.
No?
He needed...
The whole reason we're here as an audience...
It's not a coincidence. That's just the guy he picked because he knew
No. What I'm saying is that
I got your good looks.
The whole reason we, the audience, and Pluto are in this room are because of Rosario Dawson showing up and him not wanting to, not really Rosario, just him not wanting to sell the place. Right?
Yeah. Well, that's what set off the chain of events.
Right. If he had sold that bar, we wouldn't be sitting in this room. He just happened to be the guy that didn't sell. He just happened to be the guy that brought Rosario along with him, and he just happened to be the guy that they used to clone. I would have liked it had there been some reason in the plot for real Pluto being drawn into this mess, because to have the reveal be Pluto is, although the situation that the white guy describes makes sense in the context of the movie, it's just, if you think about it, what are the odds that the real Pluto would then get somehow mixed up in this guy's stuff? You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but I don't agree. I don't think it's a coincidence. The real Rex Crater, Alec Baldwin, needed somebody who was familiar with the moon. And so he had Pluto cloned because he knew the moon. He was an expert on the moon. So he needed somebody to run his affairs on the moon. So he cloned
No, I get
Pluto.
that. But then why is, real Pluto... It's just too much of a coincidence to me that real Pluto then gets caught up in this mix-up that ends up putting them in the same room together.
Well, he got caught up in the mix. Well, it's just like you said. I mean, he wouldn't sell his bar.
That's that's the coincidence. The real Pluto just happens to be the guy that doesn't go along with bad Pluto's plans. It's just too convenient.
Well, it's convenient for the story, I guess.
That's what I mean. It's too convenient for the story.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's too much of a... I don't know. I don't think it's too much of a stretch. I think that's just the way... Sometimes it's just the way things happen. It's not a coincidence. I wouldn't say that... some people say, oh, isn't it such a coincidence that Earth happens to be in the habitable zone of the solar system? I'm like, no, it's not a coincidence.
No, that's not coincidence. That's different.
That's just the way things turned out. And I'm like, that's the way I think of this. I'm like, it's the way things turned out. It's not a coincidence. I know that was kind of an odd example, but that's what came to my mind.
Look,
I don't think what good Pluto does here is a particularly good idea.
Well, fucking with this guy's model.
Yeah, because this guy is you know.
Well, Pluto knows himself, so...
Well, therein lies the problem. We see bad Pluto is capable of cold-blooded murder here very shortly. Mm-hmm. And real Pluto should know that. Therefore, he should not be fucking with this guy. Now, he set the whole thing up to do that, what he just did with the gun. But he was taking a real chance of getting popped just for doing that, you know.
Well, he used the, you know how hard it is to get wood on the moon bit. And, yeah, I see what you're saying. But,
Right there, robot.
you know, who knows? I mean, if this movie did flirt with the drama a little bit better, you know, about
now
dark.
This is kind of a funny idea and concept, but they didn't go far enough.
Well, how they're hitting themselves in the exact same way.
They're fighting identically, so how weird would that be?
It would be weird. Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be played for laughs. It could just be like, this is really annoying.
Well, I think it would just be a conundrum, as it would be in any story where you have your double, you know, because you know yourself, so you would be constantly trying to trick yourself, but you can't because it's you. So
that was kind of funny.
That was funny. You know, because, you know, if you try to trick yourself, then the other yourself is trying to trick you in the exact same way. There's no escaping it. So it would just be a constant loop. But yeah, I think you're right. If you know, they had flirted with the idea with him being a bit darker at times, getting into his personality of being dark, this scene would have meant a hell of a lot more. And
exactly.
They could have exploited that more. You know, where the good Pluto gets to see...
like take the scene with Luis Guzman.
Mm-hmm.
He's referring to Pluto's past and being such an awesome smuggler and, you know, bad guy, that sort of thing. You know, if he had just... Even if we never saw him be the bad smuggler that they're always referring to, even if he just spent some time saying, you know what, thanks, I'm not that guy anymore. You know, whatever. But we never, ever see anything like that.
No.
I think they really missed some opportunities there.
It's a shame. I agree. But, you know, I think they were bogged down by the nature of what they wanted this movie to be. They didn't want it to be too serious. So, you know, we get something that's kind of in the middle. And like we said, something that we really can't define. You know, I guess I would say it's a sci-fi action sort of, comedy sort of. I'm like, it has too many genres put on it. I can't really define it. So, what is that actor's name?
Which one?
The character actor.
You all right? Okay.
So the white guy?
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
No, I know. We were talking about him. I don't remember.
Oh, okay, just check.
Oh wait, you probably are thinking of him from Independence Day.
Oh yeah, that would be. yeah. He played a douchebag in that movie too.
Oh, he almost always plays a douchebag.
Does he? Is he one of those guys?
Yeah, pretty much. He does it well.
Okay. He didn't really do a good job with the stunt double work on this.
Yeah, no.
You can really clearly tell when it's not him. I mean, I think they CG'd his face for the fall right there, but most of the time, it's during action scenes, you can tell when they're using a double. So isn't everybody going to think Pluto's dead, at least for a little bit? If he's so famous. But
I guess so.
Not for long, because he's got his club back. Voyage de la Lune again on the left-hand side.
For the grand reopening of Club Pluto, please welcome.
Oh, they're not doing that. They're not doing that dancing again. See, she gets her.
Yeah, I know.
She gets her thing. I don't know what's with the hair though. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
it's obviously fake. Why they would do that, I don't know. See, and the movie comes full circle. I mean, we end up back in the club. But you're right. Pluto's character doesn't really change. He's pretty much exactly the same as when we met him.
I think he is exactly the same.
The only thing's different is he has his club back. That's the only thing that's changed. I mean,
he never really lost it. I mean, it blew up, but
it blew up. He had to rebuild it.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. I mean, it's just the same thing.
This is good. I went like 10 steaks, 10 lobster. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, the club pretty much looks the same. Everything's pretty much just reset. I mean,
his life has not changed except for the fact that he's added a couple new friends.
Well, he's done the moon some good. He's taken down Rex Crater and eliminated, organized crime.
Yeah, but prior to them coming to make an offer on his bar, his life wasn't affected by Rex Crater anyway.
No. Well, what I thought was kind of sad was that the characters we saw in the beginning, his right-hand man in the club, it didn't come back in this scene. And I thought, well, did he die in that explosion?
I guess it wasn't meant to be, huh?
I'm drawing a blank on who that guy was.
His second in command in the club. I can't remember the actor's name. But, he was running the club with Pluto. And,
right.
Yeah.
He just thinner black guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. I don't know. Totally forgot about him.
Yeah, where did he go? It's like, did he die? I was kind of sad. See, but Bruno here has more of an arc than Pluto does.
Yeah, kind of.
Bruno goes from being a bodyguard to being the club owner, and from being very
manager.
kind of what did I say? Owner? Yeah, manager.
We've got a pile of bills.
But he's adorable. I mean, he's the way he's
like him.
The way he's like, oh, I'm swamped. I've got a lot to do now. But he goes from being kind of very self-deprecating. He was almost about to disassemble himself to being very elated and happy. And even Rosario Dawson gets an arc. She goes from runaway on the moon to now she's got a job.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone pretty much gets something but him. It's kind of sad.
Well, he liked exactly where he was.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I was just accentuating the point.
I get it.
Okay. All right. Well, that was Pluto Nash.
Yeah. I don't know what else there is to say. It's a James Reborn. That's the guy's name, by the way, the actor.
Belcher. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, I'll just close out my thoughts by saying pretty much what I've already said at the beginning, which is I was completely shocked that you enjoyed it and had some...
So was I, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that you had some really nice things to say about it and some really intelligent things, story-wise, to say, pointing out how it could be improved, which is something nobody I've ever talked to somebody about has ever done. They'll just criticize it and will not think of ways to improve it. They'll just bash it, step on it, call it garbage, waste of time, and won't point out a lot of the good things in it, like the set design and all the character actors they have in there. Some really genuinely funny moments. And I'm glad that you brought some things to my attention that I didn't really think about, like, what if they'd started it off earlier and showed us more of Pluto's past? So I'm grateful. So thanks a lot, brother.
Well, I'm glad I could surprise you. I'm glad that it was a surprise, much like when I put you in front of Superman versus the Elite. I expected you to come back and go, nah.
Well,
whatever.
you got to admit, I have a lot hanging on the line with this. I mean, because Superman versus the Elite doesn't have the stigma that this movie does.
No, it doesn't. But I think what saved me was that other than having the reputation of being a bad movie, I didn't know anything about it. So it was kind of refreshing to go into it not knowing anything. And, I was interested. I watched it straight through. And, yeah, I just enjoyed it. It was a fun movie. I think the mistake that people have or could have coming into this is expecting it to be a full-on comedy. I don't think anyone went into it expecting it to be an action movie. But they probably went in there expecting it to be a comedy. And it's funny, but I wouldn't go so far as to call it a comedy. You and I talked a lot about this movie it's an action movie, it's a sci-fi movie, it's a comedy, it's a drama. It's a lot of things. It's a mob movie. It's so many things.
Yeah, from the way they marketed it, I think they expected, a typical Eddie Murphy kind of vehicle, say like Norbit where it's Eddie
Yeah,
Murphy
which is
doing-
why probably in the trailer they give you the reveal that there's 2 Eddie Murphys.
Yeah, exactly.
They tried to play on something. And I will say, if I was the studio, I would probably find myself going, how do you cut a trailer for this? How does this make sense to anyone? What is it? Because you usually have to market it as either a comedy, a drama, action movie, whatever. What is it? It's hard to explain.
I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see the trailer now to see exactly what they
It'll probably
were
piss you
intending.
off. You'll watch it and go, oh my God, they ruined the movie for you. At least the reveal.
Yeah, at least that part anyway.
Which they spend considerable screen time
But you're
building.
right. If they did reveal that in the trailer, that means they were definitely banking on the fact that people would think, oh, this is going to be like Nutty Professor or
Exactly.
Norbit, where he's interacting with himself doing his regular shtick. But it's not. It's not at all.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm glad I could surprise you. I would like to own this movie. I wouldn't call it a guilty pleasure because I don't think it's bad.
I never called it guilty at all. It was just a fun movie.
I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what it was supposed to be. Fun.
Yeah.
You don't cast Eddie Murphy and expect it to be overtly serious. And it wasn't. It was just fun. So anyway, I think we're getting close to the end of the credits. I'm glad we thought of this. I'm glad we did this. I'm glad I watched it. I don't feel lessened in any way for having seen it.
Well, good.
So
well, yeah. Thanks a lot for joining me. I appreciate it.
So with that, I guess we'll wrap it up. I'm Justin of the Soulless Minions saying good night.
I'm Josh. So long.
So we